In order for us to move into this next phase, we had to let go of a lot of our material possessions so that we could make more room for the experiences that we wanted to have in this time of our lives. My 1-year rule is that if it's an item that I have not used, or better yet, even thought about in at least a year, it's probably something that I can let go of. Hey guys, welcome to the Melanated Midlife podcast. I am your host, Akila Willery, and today I want to talk to you about my experience with downsizing, preparing for this big move that we made from the suburbs to the city. So go back and look at that episode with me and my husband where we're talking about our decision to downsize our big suburban home, where we got rid of a whole lot of stuff, furniture, dishes, all sorts of things in our garage. We sold most of the things that we owned and came to live in a much, much smaller space in downtown. And the decision to do that, I mean, it was a big one. So I don't want to make it sound like we woke up on a Saturday and made all these moves happen on a Tuesday. That was not at all the case. This was many, many months of us having hard conversations, evaluating our finances, really thinking about what we wanted this next season of life to feel like, what we wanted it to look like, what we wanted our day-to-day experience to be. And in order to do that, we had to shrink down a whole lot of what we owned and what we would be physically carrying with us into this next season. So you can kind of imagine, I mean, the bare basics of it is you go from big, and I'm saying big, a big suburban home, and you get an apartment that is literally half the square footage of your former living space. So we had multiple couches, we had 4 bedrooms, we had an office, we had a huge kitchen with a ton of storage. So we had truly every type of kitchen appliance that you can imagine, all of these things, and everything we use. So I don't want to make it sound like it was a lot of junk. We'd been really good about not holding on to too many things, but there were some items that really were no longer useful to us going into this next phase. So the way I'm thinking about it is that in order for us to move into this next phase, we had to let go of a lot of our material possessions so that we could make more room for the experiences that we wanted to have in this time of our lives. And I mean, you've heard me say this, if you followed anything about the podcast, that, I mean, I really do feel like we are in our prime. And, in midlife, you've got a lot of things that are happening. My menopause issues are epic, and I will continue to whine and bitch about that until they are completely gone and out of here. However, with the kids having moved out, and like I said, they're starting their little young adult lives and their own experiences, and who knows, maybe they'll share with the world, I don't know. But us, in this time where we were just free to do a lot of different things, and we didn't want to carry that baggage, that literal baggage of all the material things with us. So one concept that I had already kind of studied in the past was this concept of minimalism. And maybe you are familiar with it, but if you are not, minimalism is a kind of, I'll say complex, but not really. I guess I've already been drinking the Kool-Aid, so it just feels very natural to me. But minimalism, as defined by Clever Girl Finance, this is an article that they published in January of this year, and I'll read the definition to you. Minimalism is defined as a concept in art and design, and it's the idea of having less. Yet, the lifestyle encompasses so much more. So you physically don't have a lot, but you make space, you make room for experiences that are beyond the materialistic items. I first got turned on to the idea of minimalism from a book and a Netflix special that was titled The Minimalists. And the two gentlemen that were, the originators of that concept, their names are Joshua Fields Millburn and Ryan Nicodemus. And I followed their, from the very first version of what they were putting out. Now they have a podcast with TK Coleman where they talk about this very regularly. It has really generated a movement. And they believe that by ridding yourself of life's excess material items in favor of focusing on what's important to you as an individual. So it doesn't mean that you go without a lot of material possessions. Not at all. I mean, I still like my techie tools. I still have my favorite coffee cups or, drinking thermoses. I still want to look good. I want to look fly. I want to buy, the outfits that make me feel confident and casual and comfortable in a lot of different situations. However, I don't buy those things to excess. I don't necessarily just shop for the sake of shopping and spending money. I don't go to Target like I used to and just stroll up and down the aisles just looking for something to throw into my basket. When I do these things, and I'm not saying there's no judgment. Let me pause for just a moment and say that there is no judgment if you see yourself in any of these scenarios. I definitely have a lot of things that I do indulge with. I do have, I once upon a time had a very real office supply addiction, if you could even call it that. I had so many doggone journals that didn't always get used. I love sticky notes. I love gel pens. I'm just a teacher at heart, so all of these different things get me really excited, especially around the start of the school year. But buying those material things, it's fun in the moment, but then once you get it home, once you get it to the office, once you get it to whatever the physical space is, if it doesn't still bring any fulfillment, I've had to stop and pause and say, okay, do I really need to bring this into my world? Do I really need this to be a part of my environment? And at least for me, I have found that I have a little bit more freedom and flexibility if I don't bring a whole lot of physical stuff into my space. So let me take a moment to say that with the whole concept of minimalism, it is incredibly individualized. So what minimalism means to me could look totally different to somebody else. For me, minimalism means I'm not buying a lot of clothes, and to say that I want to look good and I want to feel comfortable in my clothing. I actually have found myself adopting more of a canon wardrobe, where you will notice, if you go back and look at other episodes, I'm usually wearing around the same colors. So black tops, jeans, brown or tan tops, definitely black bottoms, black yoga pants, black dress pants, or, things that are all within that same color palette where I could mix and match any of those items at any time and it not clash. So I'm finding myself buying fewer clothing items, but making sure that they are high quality because I'm wearing them more often. I'm washing them or dry cleaning them more often. So as a result, I spend a little bit more, like on this shirt, It took a few more dollars for it. It's not exactly a Target shirt. It's something I spent a few extra dollars on because I knew it was something that I was going to wear very often. So now y'all are probably staring at my shirt trying to figure out where I bought it from. I digress. But the thing about it is that with your individual interpretation of minimalism or your individual application of the concept, you get to focus on what is important to you. So the first thing about minimalism that I can say is that having less stuff is less that I have to keep clutter free. It's less that I have to clean and organize. And at any point, my house, well, not my house anymore, my apartment, my office space, any place where I am, the less clutter I have, the more clear my thoughts are, the more I'm able to be creative and just get whatever projects done. I'm able to focus because I don't have a lot of things that I'm agonizing on cleaning or throwing away or organizing or making sure that it gets to where it's supposed to be. None of that is a part of my consciousness anymore, because if it doesn't exist in that space, then it's not something that I have to focus on. And I will tell you that focusing on your core values, it means that instead of spending money on the expensive clothes, instead of spending a lot of money on a bunch of purses or office supplies anymore, I have more room in my budget to splurge on the things that are really important to me. So you've heard me say a million times that I love experimenting with a lot of different restaurants and experiencing any and everything that's here in the neighborhood where I am, to just, new dishes, finding out, different culinary things that are around town, because I just happen to live in a city that is very diverse, a lot of different restaurants that cater to diverse palates, and I'm just lucky. So I want to be able to spend time spending money on those meals. I want to spend time on a date night with my husband. I want us to have more time to travel. I want to be able to splurge and get the best seat on the plane or get the better suite at the hotel. Those are the things that are core to my values. That's where I want to make sure that my funds go to enriching my life. But is buying a new purse necessarily going to give me that kind of fulfillment? I can say for me, no. For you, that might be totally different. So you get to craft what your minimalist environment, what your minimalist application of this concept is going to be. Now, at least for me, it's very simple. As you've already heard me explain, you can tell that I'm more focused on spending my time and my energy and my money on experiences rather than physical material things. And that's not necessarily across the board. So like I said, there are things where I will spend quality dollars on. I like my techie tools. I do love to get a really great cup of coffee and then a really insulated mug or thermos to put that coffee in. Also, making sure that things are quality when I do spend the money on them. Because if I'm going to spend the money on a 1 or 2 t-shirts or 1 or 2 dresses, then I'm going to make sure that it's high quality, because I'm going to be having them in regular rotation more often than somebody that's got a really maxed out closet of designer clothes. So that's one thing that I will say as a good tip. Another tip that I will give you is, me personally, and this came really handy when we were downsizing in anticipation of this big move, was I have my 1-year rule. And I don't know if I read that from someplace else or if it's just something that I adopted on my own, but my 1-year rule is that if it's an item that I have not used, or better yet, even thought about in at least a year, it's probably something that I can let go of. So if it is, I don't know, we can stick with the concept of clothes, a nice suit or a dress that I haven't tried on to see if it even fits in a year. Or it could be, once upon a time, I had multiple coffee machines. I think I had a little mini coffee machine. I had a bigger Keurig machine. Then I had a regular brewed drip coffee machine. All of these different things, because I was like, I want all of these because I'm going to want a different kind of cup of coffee from day to day. And it just so happened I got hooked on one particular machine. So I had to really decide, do I need all of these other coffee machines, or could I let go of them and just stick to the one? So obviously you can tell where this story is going. If I hadn't touched it or used it for a year, then I knew it was time for me to let that go. Some other things that I could probably name, clothing is an easy one. There's jewelry that I may decide, okay, I've grown out of that look. or there could be even makeup. You probably just for hygiene reasons need to let go of old makeup, but there would be things that I would buy that I was just like, oh, that's just not me anymore. I'm maturing out of that phase, or my coloring might look a little bit different from season to season. So, these are all things that, I can name that it's okay to let go of. And in addition to that, with getting rid of things, letting go of things, if I'm buying something new, which I shop very little, I can say that I do make the occasional Target run. I do have some things that I will order online. But when I do bring something new into my environment, I take a moment and decide, if I'm bringing in this new thing, is there anything I already have that it might be time to let go of? And that is my way of making sure that I don't add clutter to a space that I'm trying to keep clutter free. So if I buy a new bag, which I'm a backpack person, to be quite honest, but I look at backpacks all the time. Does it have the right zippers? Does it have enough pockets for me to stash stuff in? Because again, I travel a lot for work. So I could easily buy 10 backpacks because I love them all and they're all very functional. But I have to stop and say, if I bring in this new backpack, should I let go of the one I have? Because they do the same thing. They serve the same purpose for me. And, it's just a conversation that makes me more intentional with how I spend my money, where I spend my energy. And if I'm bringing in something new, if I make the decision to bring in that new thing, then I have a deeper moment of reflection of whether or not there's something else I can offload so that my environment doesn't get too cluttered. So let me give you a few tips of, better yet, let me let you know what is the impact of following a more minimalist mindset, because that is what it is. It is a mindset. You start to look at things a little bit differently. And if you're not somebody that's constantly going out there and looking for ways to spend your money on material things, it does have an impact on you. And the easiest one that I can name is that you just have less stuff. And having less stuff means that you have less clutter in your environment. And in this day and age of rampant consumerism, which, no judgment, again, let me just say that over and over again, if you see signs of this, in your own life, in your own day-to-day, there is no judgment. Do you, honey? Don't worry one bit about me. But my experience has been that when I have less clutter in my environment, it frees my mind and my energy to focus on the things that I really want to put that energy and time towards. I don't like to spend a lot of time with housekeeping. I don't like to have to put things away and figure out places to store a lot of stuff. So another benefit is that it makes me appear to be super organized. When people come into our apartment, even when they used to come into our house, they would always comment about, wow, your house is so clean, or your house is so organized. And I kind of snickered to myself, because I knew that my secret was, the reason it looked so organized because it just wasn't a lot of stuff in it. Yes, it was cozy. It was very, warm and inviting, and we loved to entertain. But did we really need multiple sets of stemware? Did we really need multiple champagne flutes or different styles of champagne flutes? Did we need 4 different styles of margarita glasses? Maybe not. And obviously we've proven that we really didn't need it, because those things are now gone. The other impact, I will say, that has been very positive with not bringing, so many material things into my world is that I'm not spending money on a lot of new stuff. So I made the example of, do I want to spend time, going on dates with my husband or experiencing new and exciting restaurants nearby? Or do I want to buy that expensive handbag? And for me, at least, I got or will get greater fulfillment from the experiences instead of the material handbag. And that's just me. That is my experience, that is my outlook, that is how I see it. And the financial benefit between the two, I get more out of the experiences. I get more out of the time I get to spend with hubby or with family or with my good girlfriends. I get to instantly say yes to brunch invites where if, money was a little bit tighter, I'd probably have to think twice about it from time to time. The other thing that I will say has been a very positive impact, and I've alluded to that already, is that when I do make the decision to purchase items or clothes or shoes or whatever, I am very picky about making sure that they are quality. And that's a new development, I will say, because I was the queen of doing the 5 for $5 or going to the dollar store or buy 2, get the third one free. And I would buy cheap t-shirts in every color, and they would last after about a wash or 2. And then I would be having to get them out of the rotation. So as I've gotten older, I have a greater appreciation for things that are high quality. So it lasts longer. That's a big deal to me because I don't want to have to go shopping and buy the same crap over and over again because I bought something cheap and it broke down on me, after 2 wears. That is just something that I don't have the patience for. Going into a store, going into a mall, God forbid, that is something that is like punishment to me. I'm so thrilled that my kids are old enough to do their own shopping, that school shopping, back to school shopping, it is just not a thing in my world right now because that was truly, truly just debilitating in my world to have to go into a mall. So thank goodness we're past that period. The other thing, as a result of being more with the minimalist mindset is being picky about what I'm buying, what I'm spending money on. It makes you less interested in what's trendy. So there could be a certain style that is hip and cool right now, or, everybody's looking really fly and then I'm kind of missing out on it. But I will say that it makes me less likely to jump on a trend really quickly that is going to require some type of financial investment. If everybody's suddenly wearing lowrider jeans, which, I just totally went back to the 90s with that comment, or they're, right now, everybody's wearing yoga pants or, hoodies that are super soft and comfortable or whatever, that is very much my comfort zone. But if new trends start popping up, they're a little bit beyond that, it's going to take me a minute to hop on that trend because I'm not necessarily going to want to invest in something that could be short-lived. So doesn't mean that I'm immune to all of it. Yeah, I buy stuff from time to time, but it just makes me pause a little bit quicker instead of just instantly following what everybody else is doing. And some of that might be maturity. So let me make that point. In my 50s, I care a lot less about what everybody else is doing. So there's that, could be a relation between the two. Another impact, of course, is that because we were downsizing, the whole point of this conversation was this was impactful in us having less stuff to drag into our new living space. So it was less things to pack up and move. But let's just say that where we live right now, that we decide this is no longer for us. We want to try something different. Maybe we want to live beachside, or we want to move back to the suburbs, God forbid. If we do decide that it's a time for another change, we have a whole lot less to put in that box today than we did a couple years ago. So it makes me feel a lot lighter. It makes me believe that if we suddenly decided to do another pivot anytime soon, that it's going to be super easy because we're just not physically carrying much into that next chapter. And the other thing I will say, the state of mind, the things that I worry about from day to day, if I don't have a lot of stuff in my space, it just makes me feel a whole lot lighter. And I will welcome this state of mind over what I used to have in my early days of motherhood and marriage, where I bought a lot of things and filled up my space because I wanted it to look appealing to other people. And as I've matured and gotten a little bit wiser, I feel a lot more comfortable saying what does and does not work for me. And I'm very grateful for that state of mind that I find myself in. So anyway, I just wanted to, share all of this with you. This has been my experience with downsizing, decluttering, and just making sure that everybody understands the principles that kind of fed into that. So minimalism is a thing. I definitely will link in the show notes a couple of articles that might be useful to you if it is something that you're interested in. Like I said, Clever Girl Finance and the Minimalists podcast, these are both places where I have found some inspiration. But if you have other things that you'd like me to check out, maybe some things that I'm not aware of that you have experienced with, I definitely want to hear about it. And for sure, drop some comments. If any of this was useful, let me know. I just want to make sure that I'm sharing information that's going to be positive and inspiring to you. And we all get to go on this melanated midlife journey together and share and maybe inspire some other folks along the way. So thanks for tuning in. I hope that it is useful to you, and I will see you next time.